this is Emerald and welcome to the Diamond Net. And if you're struggling to stay consistent with your work, in this video I'm going to be teaching you how to use shadow work to let go of the barriers and blocks that you have toward being consistent and motivated. Now, before we jump into the video, I just wanted to mention really quick that I have a link to the replay for my live workshop that I had yesterday, Shadow Work Breaking the Cycle of Self-Sabotage, so you can find that link down below in the description box. And the things that I was teaching in that workshop are very, very similar to what we're going to focus on in today's video. Now, if you're someone who's struggling to stay consistently motivated towards your work, you might be thinking, oh, I need to develop more discipline, and I need to be harder on myself, I need to gain more self-control. Or you might even be thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so lazy. But what I'm here to tell you is that it's none of those things. So it's not a willpower problem, it's not a discipline problem, and you're not lazy. Instead, there's something deeper going on that you're not yet conscious of, something that's happening down in the shadow. And those unconscious patterns are trying to serve or protect you in some way by keeping you held back from working on your goals or being able to stay consistently disciplined toward your work. For example, let's say that somebody is struggling with discipline and they feel like they're just really, really lazy because they have this new business idea and they're not working on it at all. But when they do a little bit more shadow work and they discover the deeper root cause reason, they find that, oh, they have imposter syndrome. It's like if they start doing that, people are going to think that they're a fraud or an imposter. And so what can look like laziness on the surface is actually avoiding a deeper vulnerability. Or let's say that somebody has that same goal of starting a business, but they know that their parent's going to get jealous of them or their sibling's going to get jealous of them. And so what they do is they put on the brakes and they stall out. And it's like, oh no, I'm not being motivated. I'm being so lazy. But in actuality, they're trying to maintain a relationship with the family member that would be jealous. And so anytime that you're diagnosing laziness or inconsistency or self-sabotage or procrastination as its own root cause, you're making a mistake. And instead of actually fighting the root cause, you're trying to fight with the symptom of the problem. And so it's a bit like trying to cure malaria with Tylenol because you're trying to fight the fever instead of fighting the germ. And it's very similar to the lesson that Hercules had to learn in the Labor of Hercules where he was fighting the Hydra. And that's a beast with many, many heads. And if you cut off one of the heads, 2 or 3 more grow back in its place. And instead, what Hercules had to do is he actually had to cauterize the stump. He had to deal with the root cause of the problem. And so this is a really great metaphor for how many problems can come up when we try to fight the problem on the level of the symptoms instead of dealing with the deeper root cause. And so if you're struggling with laziness and lack of motivation and you're trying to fight things on the level of that symptom, then you're not going to get anywhere. And that's what most people who deal with these problems end up doing. They end up going, oh, I'm so lazy, and then they see it as a character flaw, and then they start trying to be extra hard on themselves and extra disciplined, and they talk really negatively toward themselves to try to rid themselves of that character flaw. And that's because we tend to see problems with motivation as moral failings. And if we can't seem to get ourselves to do the productive work, we think, oh, there must be something that's just bad about me. There must be something wrong with me. So we try to control ourselves and we punish ourselves and we judge ourselves and we moralize at ourselves, but none of that is effective. In fact, it causes even more procrastination and laziness and lack of motivation because we lose morale when we do that. And so if all of this is describing you, what you want to do is you want to shift your perspective. So instead of seeing your laziness, your procrastination, your self-sabotage as a moral failing or as, oh, there's something wrong with me, why am I so lazy, I just need to motivate myself and fighting with the symptoms, you want to instead shift your perspective over to being like, okay, if I am procrastinating and if I am chronically unmotivated or I'm dealing with self-sabotage, then it makes sense. There's something underneath the surface that must make sense that those behaviors are coming up. So there's always a valid reason underneath the surface why part of you is essentially standing in your own way. And so instead of the moral condemnation perspective where you're trying to fight against the symptoms, instead you look at yourself in a more compassionate way and you start trying to really understand the roots. You start to say, okay, this is a valid problem to be having and it's coming from a valid place. And this must be trying to serve me in some way. It's not some problem of mine. In fact, this is a sign that things are working well, but it's working well in a way that just isn't working for me. And this is where the awareness that there's a shadow shadow comes in handy, because then we can realize, oh, there are unconscious parts of ourselves that are trying to serve us or protect us in some way by causing us to procrastinate and self-sabotage and lose motivation. And by the way, that's 100% what that replay is all about. So if you haven't checked that out, make sure you click the link down below to watch that replay, because it's only going to be up for the next couple of days. And so when we know that we have a shadow, and we know that our shadow is trying to serve us in some way through these self-sabotaging patterns, and we trust that there's a wisdom that it's trying to communicate to us through coming across as laziness or through coming across as lack of motivation, we can actually start to glean the messages from our shadow that way. So I'm going to give a personal example of when this was coming up for me, and this happened to me about 5 years ago. And so at that point in time, I'd already had this channel, The Diamond Net, for about 5 years. And the way that I was thinking about the channel and the way that I was thinking about my coaching and everything that I've been doing was in quite a grandiose way. I was thinking about it as like, oh, I'm gonna like help people get these root cause insights, and I'm gonna like save the world with what it is that I'm doing. And like I said, I know that that sounds really grandiose, but that was like the way that I was thinking. It's like, okay, I'm gonna like save people, and there's gonna be this ripple effect, and people are gonna like wake up from it. And in this fantasy, I was really thinking about myself as like this hero that's gonna come in and save and rescue everyone. And when I was thinking about this, it was really, really inspiring to me. I'd be like, oh yes, I'm gonna like, I'm gonna have all of this impact, I'm gonna have this ripple effect on the world, and da-da-da-da. But at a certain point in time, when it came time to actually do the work, I just wanted to avoid it. I wanted to hide underneath the covers. I wanted to hide in the closet. I even thought, like, if I could just go into the closet and like hide there for a year without anybody knowing where I was, that's exactly where I would go. And when I would hide under the covers, it'd be like I was a little kid in like a blanket fort, just trying to hide away from the world. And so I was going between these two polar extremes of feeling incredibly inspired to have the impact that I want to have, and incredibly like resistant to ever having a single responsibility ever again, or even having any kind of impact on the world at all. And during that time, I even had the thought of like, oh, if I don't make this happen, no one's gonna make this happen. And there was this intense sense of obligation that I felt. And first, despite my knowledge of shadow work in the shadow, I started doing the same thing that most people do. It's like, okay, well, why am I being lazy? Why am I unmotivated? Why can't I get myself to do the work? And I would just try to will myself to get things done, but I couldn't get more done than just the bare minimum. And I really got in this tug of war with myself, because it was almost like I didn't trust that part of myself. And I even had this dream that correlated with this exact scenario. And in the dream, I was like riding along on horseback on this like really exciting journey. And I got halfway through the journey and we were making great time. Like the horse was going so fast. And then all of a sudden, halfway through the journey exactly, the horse just stopped and laid down and turned into a girl with a flat expression on her face. And so I was stranded in the middle of nowhere, halfway through the journey, and with no way of possibly going forward. And I just felt so frustrated at the horse for turning into a girl, and now I don't have a horse to bring me the rest of the way on the journey. And that dream was like an exact correlation to what it was that was happening for me in my life, where it was like, I really, really want to do this journey. I really want to be able to achieve the things that I'm looking to achieve and to move in the direction that I'm looking to move. But for some reason, there's part of me that's holding me back. And I made the mistake of not trusting that part of myself and trying to fight myself, even though I know about shadow work and theoretically I should have been able to catch this one. But eventually I stopped fighting and I started listening to that part of myself. And what it was telling me is that it was feeling incredibly overwhelmed at the sense of obligation, the sense that I have to do this, or that it's somehow my mission or my duty to do this. It didn't like my hero framing of like, oh, I'm going to be the person that comes in and solves everything. And it also didn't like the sense that I had this obligation to the entirety of the world, because the reality is that those are old trauma patterns, things that I adopted as a very young child, where I was in a very low state of power, as all children are, but I felt this sense of responsibility. And what I would do is I would ruminate about like my family members and like their welfare. And I mean, I wasn't doing anything in particular, but I would just be like, oh, what's going to happen to my dad when he gets older and he can't do the work that he's doing right now? Or, oh, like my older sister who's like developmentally disabled, I'm going to have to like take care of her like when my mom passes away. And then like just noticing like vulnerabilities of people around me and sort of almost taking them on as my own responsibility. And that's anyone in my scope of awareness that I'd feel responsible for. And then what I would do is I would just ruminate about it. And what I wasn't noticing is that all of those fantasies, because they were enjoyable, they were fun, they were inspiring, they were actually ruminations. They were like, okay, how am I going to save the world? Maybe I can put my insights out there and maybe that's going to save the world. And so what I was doing is I was subtly repeating a past pattern, but I was going to repeat it on a much larger scale. So the more expansion that I would have and the more people that I would be aware of, and even having an audience, it would repeat the same sense of low power, high responsibility that I had when I was a kid, but with other people. And this part of me, this child part of me that never really got to fully just be the child in the blanket for it because of that sense of responsibility that had gotten internalized. That part of me was stopping me in my tracks and saying no, you need to embrace smallness. You need to try to impact a narrower slice of people, and you need to have realistic expectations. And also, it's important that you don't feel obligated to do this. Understand that this is 100% a sovereign choice, and it's something that you want to do. It's not something you have to do. And so once I shifted my mindset about that, and once I actually got myself more into alignment, that part of me was able to get on board with my goals, and now it's just a lot easier to relate to them because I don't feel this intense sense of responsibility from this very low power state. And so if you're chronically struggling with motivation issues, procrastination, self-sabotage, any of those things, then chances are that is your shadow trying to send you a message about what it is that you're doing. And you might need to make some changes to what you're doing or how you're thinking about what you're doing in order to move forward. And so a really simple way to glean that message is to ask yourself, how am I trying to protect or serve myself by procrastinating, by holding myself back, by being lazy? So understanding that those are actually protection mechanisms or ways to serve you, and understanding how are they meant to serve you. For example, I was dealing with laziness and procrastination and work avoidance, and all of that was trying to protect me from feeling overwhelmed by too much responsibility that I was internalizing. And for you, it might be something totally different. Like maybe you're procrastinating because you're afraid of that success will bring with it exposure, or let's say maybe you're afraid that if you work on your goals, you're going to run into some really uncomfortable feelings that you don't want to face with. Or maybe if you work on your goals and you're more successful, you won't fit in with your current social group anymore. And for each person, the message that the shadow is sending with self-sabotage and procrastination and laziness might be a little bit different, but it all starts with asking yourself, how am I trying to protect or serve myself by standing in my own way? And remembering that these issues aren't coming up because you're lazy inherently or that there's some kind of problem or moral failing with you, but that there's some kind of function that's underlying that behavior. You're just not yet conscious of it yet because it's in the shadow. And if you would like to learn more about how to work with your shadow to glean the messages behind your self-sabotage and procrastination issues and your laziness issues, then I highly recommend checking out the free replay that's there in the description box. It will be there until Tuesday, so it'll only be there for another 2.5 days or so. And the workshop was called Shadow Work, Breaking the Cycle of Self-Sabotage. So if this video resonates with you, then that workshop should certainly resonate with you as well. I also wanted to let you know that I'm currently in the open enrollment period for my group program, Shadow Work for Self-Sabotage, and that's for people with big goals who want to use shadow work to basically let go of the barriers to working toward and achieving those goals and being able to be more consistently motivated. And so enrollment for this cohort will be between today and Monday, May 25th. And so make sure that you schedule your free discovery call to see if the program is a good fit for you. And if you miss the deadline on May 25th, I won't be opening enrollment again for another 4 months after that. So make sure if it's something that you're interested in, go ahead, click the link down below with the replay. There's also a place there where you can schedule a free discovery call and learn more about the program. And all the information about the program is right there below the replay. So if you wanted to check out the replay and check out the information page for the program, then you just scroll down a little bit. And have a great day and keep becoming more you.